Good evening and welcome to the Tammy Tuckey Show. My name is Tammy Tuckey and it's good to see you. I know we've had a little bit of a break, but what better day to come back and do this show live on International Women's Day? And I have two wonderful women who are joining us this evening, Songwriters Michele and Amanda. So let's bring them on the screen here. Hi, ladies.
Hi,
Welcome.
hon. Happy International Women's Day.
Woohoo! And
Yeah.
we were literally just like, I was playing the song I Am Woman because we were discussing a little bit of Helen Reddy off air. And Michele, you said you had gotten to work with her. So I'm like, I just hear I hear I Am Woman all day today for myself.
That was a great song. You know, at that moment,
Yes.
that was such an important, powerful song.
Yeah.
Really ignited people.
I had no idea like the impact it had. I don't know. Did you see the Helen Reddy biopic they made? And I think it was like on Netflix for a little bit.
No.
And
No.
I didn't know anything about her story, and it's very beautiful. It's a wonderful film, and it kind of leads up to that moment of that song being sung. And I really didn't have that perspective of what women went through because a little bit of a different generation, but I watched it with my mom, and my mom just truly loved the film, and she just loved that moment because again, she lived through that time. And it's just so interesting because I have had, we also discussed that on my podcast. I've interviewed a lot of individuals, and a lot of them are male, and I don't get a chance to talk to a lot of the female animators and directors and songwriters. So this is very special. So thank you for being on the show. So why don't we go through, how both of you started in the industry, in the entertainment industry, and kind of are starting your yellow brick road path, as they say. You know what I mean? So Michele, why don't you give us a little bit about your story, and we'll jump over to Amanda.
Oh golly. I mean, I've written music my whole life, and been a songwriter and a singer, and also what we now call a musical director all my life, although I just called it being the piano player. But there was a point, I went to Northwestern and I got a degree in music composition, which was not very useful. And then there was a point where I just sort of turned a corner and in my own mind became like a singer-songwriter. That was, and that was like in 1971. So it's a while ago. And I don't know what else to say exactly. You know, my goal initially was to be a recording artist, and I was going to record labels and almost getting record deals, and everything kind of fell through. And I wound up moving to LA, and I've just been working in any capacity, in every capacity that I can, all these years, mostly writing music. But, being a musical director, or when I first moved to Hollywood and I had to figure out how to pay rent, I was transcribing music. Like,
Wow.
back then you couldn't file a copyright without a written lead sheet of every song. And most of the artists that were recording couldn't possibly write out anything. They didn't know how.
Yeah.
And so it would all come through this music copying house. So I did that. I just all sorts of things, but somehow
That's like math work to me. I don't know how you did. Like, again, I can hear the music in my head, but I would not be able to write it out or play it.
I've been able
So
to do
kudos
that
to you.
since I was a small child. So that
Wow.
was never a problem for me. I started taking piano lessons when I was 4. So I was reading music from the time I was 4. So, it's just embedded. But then, like, there was a certain turning point. Well, there were a bunch of turning points, but the one that led us to Land Before Time came in 1994. I had been scoring some videos for MCA Universal. I was working with an actress named Dixie Carter, and she did several yoga videos for them, and I was the scoring composer on those. And I got a call from one of the execs at Universal one day saying, "Do you still write with Amanda McBroom?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Would you and Amanda be interested in writing songs for a sequel to Land Before Time?" And I said, "Yeah." So she said, "Well, come on in and let's talk."
Come on down.
We went to Universal you know, the big black building. Well, you don't know because you're in Philadelphia, but there's this
Well, I saw
big black.
pictures of it for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So we went over to the big black building and we went in to meet with this marvelous woman named Susie Peterson, and she's there and the director of the project. And she hands us a script and she said, okay, let's talk about timeline. And we thought we were probably one of 25, you know, writing teams that they were interviewing. So we were very calm.
Wow.
We took the script, we listened to all of their thoughts about, you know, timeline. And we walked out and we didn't say a word. We walked out of the building. We walked all the way to the parking lot, which was a long way away. And then we just screamed.
What?
You
What?
got the gig.
Oh my God.
So that was the beginning of our, you know, the animation part of our career. And it's been wonderful.
Oh, it's more fun than anything.
It is. It's the best.
Amanda, where did your journey begin?
Burbank. My daddy was in the movies and my mother was a drama teacher, and I never wrote a song until I was in my late 20s. But that was not my intention. I was an actress, and I started in theater when I was about 10 or 11, doing theater in Burbank and LA and around. And then I moved to Texas for a while, and my aunt bought me a guitar. And I became sort of a folk singer, and I was, you know, learning all the old Joan Baez and Judy Collins and stuff like that, and singing at the livestock shows and stuff like that. And then I wound up going into summer musicals, Dallas Summer Musicals, which is big. They imported all these musical stars from New York, and then the chorus would be from Texas. So I was in the chorus a lot, but my total intention was to be on Broadway. I had no intention whatsoever to ever write a song. That was just not in my lexicon at all. And I was touring with my now husband and in a wonderful musical called Jacques Brel is Alive and Well and Living in Paris. And he was working one night and it was my night off, and I picked up my guitar and something happened. And he came home and I said, something just happened. I don't know what this is. And I played it for him and he says, you just wrote a song and it's good. And I said, I don't know about that. But it became a hobby. When nobody was listening, I'd go hide in the other room and write little songs on my guitar, or if I was around a piano, on a piano. But it was never my intention to be a songwriter. And then I met Michele, and life changed forever. And
Tell me about that meeting. Yeah. How did that meeting occur?
Go for it, Michele.
Well, I had this boyfriend who was a songwriter and a music producer. He was very cute.
And he was very good.
He was very good.
Yeah.
And he was living in an apartment complex up above Hollywood Boulevard called Yamashiro. There's this restaurant there that was a Japanese castle that was literally taken apart stone by stone, brought over here and rebuilt. And then they added these apartments to it. Amanda?
And my husband George and I had just come to LA doing Jacques Brel, and we were frantically looking for an apartment, and we found this fabulous little apartment that was unbelievably cheap, and everybody in the complex was either an actor, a screenwriter, a musician, something. And somebody came to my door at one point and said, you see that little bronze colored MGTD over there? I said, yeah. I said, a music producer lives there. Tell him you write songs. And I don't know what possessed me, but I grabbed a piece of paper and wrote, I write songs. I'm in apartment 203. And I stuck it under his windshield. And son of a gun, if he didn't come knock on my door and say, let me hear. And I played him maybe 2 El Chizo things on a little cassette that I'd sort of self-produced. And he sort of said, And then he introduced me to his girlfriend, Michele.
He called me up and he said, I've met this woman and she's just a brilliant songwriter and she's gorgeous and you're going to love each other. I'm going like, right, sure.
Yeah, right. And then we met, and I'd say it was pretty instant. It was kind of artistic love at first sight, wouldn't you say?
Totally. We have such a similar, I mean, it's not a complete overlap.
Yeah, no.
So much commonality. And then the fact that each of us brings other things that one of, to the mix just makes it all that much richer. So,
But she's not going to say, but I will. Michele is a genius. She's a musical compositional genius. I'm really good with words. I mean, she's good. She's great with words too. But what I am good with is words. And it was like a great marriage.
Yeah, but she's understating her. She's, first of all, Amanda's like probably one of the most brilliant lyricists anywhere. And she's a really, really good composer too. Mm-hmm. So we mix and match and like we're sort of a Venn diagram.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, let's do this. I'd love to play two different pieces that each of you wrote separately, and then we'll talk about one piece that's my favorite that you wrote together. So let's first talk about The Rose, because Amanda, you wrote this particular song. I think a lot of people might know this because a famous person named Bette Midler got to sing it.
God bless her.
I think this was, yes. Was this was around 1978 or 79?
78. And the reason that she sang the song is because Michele took the song to the music producers. So it's all her fault.
And so it worked. So let's just play a little bit of the song. I'm just going to play the beginning. So because I know everybody pretty much knows it, but here's a little bit of The Rose. Let's see if it will play this.
Some say love, it is a river that drowns the tender reed. Some say love, it is a razor that leaves your soul to bleed. Some say love, it is a hunger, an endless aching need. I say love, it is a flower, and you, it's only seed.
Oh, yeah.
That's all YouTube will allow me to play. So what inspired you to write this piece?
I was driving down the freeway, and a song came on the radio, written by a wonderful guy named Danny O'Keefe. And the song was called Magdalena. And there's a line in it that says, "Your love is like a razor. My heart is just a scar." And I said, oh, I think that's a fabulous, oh, what a wonderful image. And then I thought, I don't think love is like a razor. What do I think love is like? And it was literally the old experience of somebody grabbed the top of my head, pulled it open, and the words just came like straight on, boom, came.
Yeah,
and I had to keep saying it over and over and over to myself while driving home so I could get to a piano and a pencil, because we didn't have these things that record, So
that's even the worst, because you're like, I want to hold that song in my head.
Exactly. So I was just repeating things over and over and over again. And then I went and wrote it down. And again, I called my husband in and says, I don't know what this is. And he said, you just wrote a standard. And I said, don't be silly. Nobody's going to hear it but you and me, and maybe some people if we have, like a sing-along karaoke sometime. But then Michele happened. So there you are.
Magic right there. I don't know how to tell you.
Yep.
And I'm going to be one to admit, I did not know about this song until I started working at my senior living home, because I would do shows for my residents. Well, I would do shows for my residents, but they would be like, I want to hear you sing a specific artist. So I did Bette Midler one time, and I said, okay, what songs do you want to hear? Because I didn't know all of them. I just really knew Hocus Pocus. So they gave me all these songs. So I did learn the Rose, and it was just I remember singing that because I was so nervous because I didn't know it very well, but they really, really loved it. So that was my introduction to that song. So I was just like, it's just a beautiful piece, and I'm all about the lyrics usually in the end. I love a good set of lyrics, and boy, are these good, Amanda. They're
Thank you,
so
Tammy.
Yeah. Well, if the lyrics aren't really good, then why bother?
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, if the song doesn't have something to say, why sing it? We can hum.
And then that gives you some pieces that are just without any words because there are no good enough words to convey, right?
Mm,
Sometimes that's the result of
can be.
music. So, and so the next one, this one's for Michelle. She wrote My Favorite Year, and
Oh.
I really enjoyed this one. Again, I did not know about this until I started learning more about both of you prior to our interview, and I could not stop playing this one too. So both of these were on my mind. So let's play a little bit of My Favorite Year.
Or have they let you go? After all the loves I've lived through all these years, I had to go so far without you. Now it's clear.
And so that was a little bit of My Favorite Year.
Oh,
And it's a very bittersweet song, right? It's very reminiscent of a happier time and kind of going back and thinking about a former lover. So was this just a song that was attached to a film, or was this something that you kind of just thought up and worked on specifically because you had a feeling? Or
Actually, I got a phone call from a guy I had gone to high school with, who said, "Listen, are you interested in writing a song for a movie called My Favorite Year?" And I said, "Sure, I'd love to. When do you need it?" And he said, "Tomorrow." And I said, No. Come on, Lloyd." And he said, "No, actually, I need it tomorrow," which, as I love to say, told me right away that I was not the first person he had called. And at that time, I was writing with another lyricist named Karen Gottlieb. And I called Karen and I said, "Do you want to write the song like today?" And she said, "I'm tied up until 4:00. I can come over from 4 till 5:30. I said, "Okay." And at that time, it was like a requirement. If you were writing a theme song for a movie, you had to have the title in it.
Yeah.
So, like, what do you do with a title like My Favorite Year? So Karen comes over and we sit at my piano. That's my piano behind me, named Steinberg. And well, actually, we sat at the dining table first, and we both had little tiny slips of paper with like a line here and a line there, and just bits and pieces. And we weren't, after about an hour, it wasn't coming together. So I said, "Let's go to the piano." So we went to the piano. I put all the bits and pieces up on the music rack, and there was no, and I was vamping, and there was no first line. So I just started saying, "You reappearing in my mind. There's that line. You were right and I was blind." And then I threw in, but that was long ago because I just needed something, right? And that's how the song came together. I would just grab little, they were just little torn shreds of paper. And we recorded it the next day, and I walked it into MGM, to the music supervisor, who listened to it and said, "This is gorgeous. I'll see to it that all the right people hear it." And then they didn't use it. And I thought, well,
wow.
Yeah, that's the end of that song, because it was so specific. A song called My Favorite Year, who the hell is going to sing that out, But Margaret Whiting, who was like a godmother to all of us, me and Amanda and a whole bunch of us, Margaret recorded it, and Michael Feinstein heard it on Margaret's recording, and he called me and said, "I want to record this."
Yeah.
So that's how that song launched. But it was.
Jeez. they missed out. Hey, that could have been, since the Academy Awards are this Sunday, that could have been a contender, you know?
It
Absolutely.
should have been. And years later, I was at a party and I was wound up talking to Norman Steinberg, who I think was the writer of the movie, not the director. I'm trying to remember that. But anyways, I said, why didn't you use my song? He said, I never heard it. I would have killed for that song.
Oh my God.
So, you know, no matter how close you get,
Showbiz.
yeah, you can't. Also, they had changed the story. When they asked for the song, they said, you know, it's a love story about something that didn't work out and the guy's having regrets. And then the story got re-edited and it wasn't that anymore. So that may be part of it.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Either way.
That sounds like a troubled movie, but it wasn't a troubled song. So
Well, and it was a great movie. Did you ever see it?
no,
Oh,
I
it's
didn't even know about
It's
it.
just wonderful. It's a
That-
wonderful movie.
It's really
Okay.
wonderful. Yeah.
I will
In fact,
put it
I
on
think
my
I
list.
want to watch it again now that I can watch it without
Now I
screaming.
want to watch it too. Yeah.
We're gonna do a watch party, everybody.
Let's do put on our pajamas and get a glass of wine and let's all watch My Favorite Year. It sounds like a plan.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
And we'll watch The Rose too, because how long has it been since we watched Bette Midler, who
Oh my
was a
gosh.
genius in that?
That
Genius.
it's the best rock and roll movie ever made still. Absolutely.
and so again, female driven, love it.
Yeah,
I think
hello.
that one and A Star Is Born, like when I think of the rock musicals of the 70s, those are the two that kind of really pop out in my mind.
Yes.
So I love both of them. Now I know I've been promoting that you guys have worked on The Land Before Time, and I want to get to that. I'm not going to be playing any of the songs from those films because the one that I remember as a kid that just so vividly captured me was the one that was featured in, of all things, Balto 2, Wolf Quest. But I think both of you got to work on the second and third one, right?
We did Balto 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And I loved Balto 2. That was a terrific picture.
Yes, it was.
And
That
for the
story,
budget,
you know, and
so-
all the mysticism and the animal and spirit guides, and yeah.
you guys had fun with that because this, as the story goes, so Balto, the original film, was beautifully animated. This, you know, the sequels usually don't get as much money or as much love, but the story was all about it for myself. But you guys put together this score, and I think it was only like 3 songs, right? 3, 4.
Probably.
Actually, in Balto 2, I think we had 5 of them. It
Really?
was a
Okay.
weird thing. Yeah, because that's the one with Muru's chant and
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Mark Hamill sings a song as the villain as well too. And just listening and watching back to it, it's basically about Balto's daughter and her journey to finding out who she wants to be. And I think you
Female-driven.
guys, yes, again, female driven. Here we go. And the music that you guys created, the best way to describe it is probably, I feel, the Northern Lights, the mystical sense of the Northern Lights is the sound that you kind of pulled from it, at least for how I felt. And so there's this scene in the film, and I can't find any footage anywhere, which is why we're not going to see it. But Maru is this a spirit guide who's a little mouse, and he talks to Balto's daughter about being trying to find who she is. And there's this beautiful song where they use images on the wall as if they're like cave drawings. So it's called Who You Are, Who You Really Are, excuse me. And so let me just play a clip and then we'll talk a little bit about this song. But here's a little segment with also the choir, and we'll talk about somebody who's in that choir too.
Ha, ha, ha.
Who you really are. There are voices all around you to comfort and to guide you. Fathers and teachers, powerful creatures, and the voice that sings inside you. Who you
So that's a little bit of the song, and it's just beautiful. Again, Who You Really Are. I think everybody should listen to it after we finish our interview so you can hear it in its entirety. So when you were presented this storyline, what what were your thoughts in making this particular song? Like, did they tell you, okay, so we want a song here, a song here, a song here, or did they give you the story and you said, hey, these are where the songs should be inserted?
That's usually the way it works. Is that the way it worked that time, Michelle?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
we had the most brilliant creative exec, the one who hired us in the first place, a woman named Susie Peterson. And she insisted when they gave us the script that the script writer not indicate where they thought the songs were, because she said she didn't want anyone to interfere with our creativity. This does not happen in this industry.
No.
We had a unique, stunning situation there for a long time, because she really felt like she wanted us to have the opportunity to just read it and go, well, how about this?
Yeah. And both of us are from musical theater backgrounds. We both love musical theater. I did a lot of performing in musical theater. So we both understand where songs go in a story. So we would look at, any script that they would give us, we would be the ones to say, oh, he needs to say this right here, and then she needs to say this over here as a response to so that was so wonderful that they gave us the freedom to trust our own theatrical instincts. It is that they're like writing mini musicals, animated music.
Oh, it's the
Yeah.
best, right?
Yeah.
It's just you get to. That's what surprised me when you said that, because usually they have everything storyboarded from the front end of the film to the back end. So I'm curious, because again, this song haunted me as a kid, because of the
Love it.
visuals and the way you guys wrote it. And so, one of the individuals who gets to sing on the track is Ali Olmo, who many of us Disney fans know as the voice of two brothers at the American Adventure at Epcot. So when I found out she did this song with you guys, and you can hear her specifically, she has a solo part. I was just like, oh my gosh. So that's why I talked to Ali the other night. I'm like, Ali, I just wanted to just to let you know. So, so how were you able to pick your were they a lot of your friends who got to perform on these tracks, or?
Well, most of the time we used the character actors themselves. Whoever played that role
If
would
they
sing
could
it.
sing. Yeah.
But what happened, let's see, we did Land Before Time 3, and the scoring composer produced the songs. We wrote the songs, but the scoring composer did the production. The same thing for Land 5. And then the next thing we did, I think, was, Hercules and Xena, the animated feature.
Yes.
And I, at that point, I was doing our demos with this brilliant musician, arranger, producer, engineer named Stefan Oberhoff. So I would bring in our demos. And Susie Peterson again said, your demos have a quality that we're losing in, when somebody else produces the song. So how about you produce them? So Stefan and I wound up, I was the nominal producer, but I worked very closely with him. And in fact, Hercules and Xena opens with a song that you will love, and Ali is really featured on that. It's Ali Olmo,
Beautiful.
a woman named Shelby Flint, and a gorgeous singer named Sarita Wright. She was married to Stevie Wonder, and she has this exquisite voice. She's also passed away, but so we had this braid of these three voices that open Hercules and Xena, and we'll send it to you.
Yeah, you have to hear it,
Unbelievable.
Tammy. It's
Ali
really
sent it
gorgeous.
to me.
So,
I was like,
so
what?
I got to hire people
Right.
over the years. I hired musicians and I hired singers, and it was wonderful to be able to produce our songs the way we wanted to hear them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, it was beautiful. And Shelby's been on the show too, because she was the singer in The Rescuers, the original
right.
film. So, and I was like, Ali, when she told me that, I went, oh my gosh, everybody knows everybody in the music industry. Truly.
Pretty much.
Right? You worked with
If
everybody.
you're in it for enough years.
Yes. Just, oh my gosh, just a brilliant piece. And I sometimes wish, I feel like we've lost the era of the sequels, basically, of the representation, because they were on VHS tape. Those were the days. And they were on DVD, and these songs, they used to release them on CD, and I
Yes.
don't really stream them anymore, which is such a shame because most of the Land Before Time songs, because you worked on, I think it's a total of 11 of them, right?
Yeah.
Which I didn't even know there were that many because as a kid, you stop watching after you're not a kid anymore. I was just like, oh gosh. But so I think your last one was like 2016, 2017.
The Last Land Before Time. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm very bad at keeping track of time. Although I have the whole collection on a shelf here in my living room.
Which is great. Like, I wish they would do like a master release of all these songs because all
Yes.
of them were wonderful, and it would be wonderful just to hear them remastered because sometimes you just get cuts off of what is on the VHS tape, which isn't as, as full, right? So, but had they ever discussed something like that with you at all?
Well, they did release one or two CDs with some of the collected songs that we've done from Land Before Time. But there's never been a release with our Balto songs or Hercules and Xena, or we did American Tail 4.
Yes, that too. Yes.
And then we did 3 Curious George features more recently. I think,
like those were the last 3 that we've done. Our COVID years.
Yeah.
Our COVID
They were
creations.
so cute. Well, Dakota has a question. Is there a possibility we might get another Land Before Time reboot? They're a big Jurassic World fan. So
yay.
have they So have they reached out and said, hey, we're going to try to continue the series on? Because now they have a YouTube channel, which I didn't know about that. I'm like, oh, this is cool.
Not that we know of.
Boy, I sure wish they would. That would be wonderful.
There was a department specifically for these animated kind of, they were direct. But first they were direct to video, and then direct to DVD, and then direct to streaming. But there was a production department for all of those, and that's been closed. So I don't know what the chance. I would love to do another. I love doing animation. First of all, Amanda has a great time writing lyrics for children. And because she's an actress, she has the capacity to step inside the character and write from inside the character like no one else can do. And
Thanks,
and
that was my question. I was just going to ask you, Amanda, because you're an actress too. You've been on screen for many a role. What do you find? I'm sure that when you pick up a song, you want to at least know the soul of the character singing it.
Absolutely.
So it's executed, right? So how do you do that?
Well, if you're writing it, I don't know. I just like put on the skin of whatever, if it's Littlefoot or if it's Balto or whatever, it's just step inside the skin and say, what do I need to say right here, right now, and to whom? And it's so much easier than writing a love song. I cannot tell you how much easier it is than trying to invent something off the page and try not to say the same thing that 4 billion other people have said. It's so great to be said when they say to you, here's a baby dinosaur and he needs to sing a song about mud. Thank you. Okay. Easy.
We have a song called Hot and Stinky.
Hot and Stinky. It's
where
a dance
they're disguising themselves by putting their smell by draping themselves in this disgusting stuff called stinkweed.
And as I believe it's a salsa tune. I believe it could be used as a dance tune.
That would be fun, wouldn't it? I think it would be great just to have maybe a tour of some of the classics that most of us now who are in our 30s heard as kids, right? That just like a lot of people have been going to those live performances of live orchestra moments of the films and songs from the films. I just would love something like that, even if it can combine The Land Before Time and American Tail, because all of these songs kind of made up our childhood. You know?
What
and
a
that's
great
why
idea.
I was so excited to talk to you guys.
Right. It's a great idea. Yeah, if they can do it with Sound of Music, certainly they can do it with Land Before Time. Come on.
Yes, come on. Another one that a lot of people really gravitate towards. And I think sometimes with the kids' films we get nowadays, everything's very bright. But I love how the sequels and some of these films from way back when do show the darkness and do show the troublesome moments. Again, another reason I was driven, like just pulled towards that Balto song is because it's a questionable song and you're fearful what does come next, that type of piece, right? So I don't think that kids are challenged like that. How do you feel like the music industry has changed in that regard and telling stories? Do you see something different or?
Boy, that's a hard one. I mean, I'm sitting here thinking about the latest Billie Eilish tunes that I've been listening to, all of which are dark.
Yeah.
There it seems
yes.
to me there's a lot of really dark music being written by young people now, not nearly as much happy music. I'm not denigrating songwriters either, because we've got beloved Taylor, you've got Billie Eilish, you've got all of these, Sam Smith, you've got all these wonderful singer songwriters, but things have a tendency to be a little grim.
Well, everything unfolds in a context.
True.
We were writing these songs in the 90s, in the earlier 2000s, and well, I mean, there was some weird stuff going on. I remember going in one of the days when we were recording vocals. I can't tell you which Land Before Time it was, but there was like a sort of a lobby in that recording studio, and somebody had a television on, and it was the day that the U.S. first started bombing Afghanistan.
Oh,
So,
wow.
Everything lives in its historical moment.
Yeah.
And a lot of what we were writing, it was a much less cynical, much less dark time. There's a really cool, by the way, a YouTube version of one of our songs from Land Before Time 7. And the song is called Beyond the Mysterious Beyond. And this guy, I'm trying to think of his name, my son, who's in his 30s, idolized this. It was a group, but I think it's one individual called Mountain Goats. And this guy from the Mountain Goats is sitting at a keyboard in concert, singing Beyond the Mysterious Beyond, and stopping to comment and to explain what the story was in the context, and talking about the characters and it's phenomenal. When I sent it to my son, he just about exploded. He was so excited.
That's great.
Yeah.
I can't wait to watch this.
I gotta go look this up.
There is a very, very interesting YouTube version of Who You Really Are too. I can't remember who it is, but it's like real mystical, and they sort of drape all these sonic curtains around it, and it's really cool.
I saw some covers, and then some people they've been reanimating the sequence because you can't find it online. They've animated it themselves. And I'm like, what talented people. Another blessing of the internet is you can share your talent with others. And I just find that fascinating, because I can't draw for my life. So when I see somebody recreate it in a different style, it's just fascinating.
Fabulous.
So if you do see that too, look that up as well. It pops right up at the top. But I can't thank you guys so much just to be here and speak to both of you, because again, your music has touched so many kids, and we still take it with us wherever we go. You could bet your bottom dollar I have a lot of your songs on my iPod, and when they just go on and play in the shuffle, I just love singing them in the car,
Yay!
So,
Yay!
Oh, Tammy, that's great. I love that.
That is a lovely thing to say.
Yay.
I remember one time I went in and met with I was looking for an acting agent, and he was looking at my resume, and part of my resume was the songs that I had written with Michele for animation. And he looked at me and he said, "Did you write Big, 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 Big Water?" And I said, "Do you have a 4-year-old?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "Yes." And he said, "You're driving me crazy." And I said, "Thank you." And he did not accept me as his client.
oh no!
That's
More
all
fool
right.
he.
More fool he. That's right.
Oh, absolutely. He's missing out, because you could have written a sequel for him about that.
That's exactly right.
Well, before we close, I always do a Kodak moment. So let's look right at the camera, and on the count of 3, we're going to go ahead and smile for our Kodak moment. 3. Oh, wait, 1, 2, 3. That's a Friday for you. There we go. We got our picture. And I do like to suggest everybody who's been watching and who will be watching, we've been having a couple people watch live. Thank you for watching and sending in your comments, questions as we went along our interview. If you'd like to take a look at this interview again, it's always on replay. We also have in the show notes below, I have all of Michele and Amanda's contact information on social media and their website. So please, there's more music. We couldn't cover it all because YouTube would take down my channel. No, I'm just kidding.
That would never
I
do.
do it. I do it in good fun. But please take a look at more of their music. It's so much fun to revisit a lot of these songs, especially watching some of the clips from The Land Before Time. That was a joy because I just was like, I can't believe I haven't seen these in over 15 years plus. So, but
you baby, you.
I know, but I'm like, it's almost like 15, 20 years. And I'm like, oh no, I really am not a baby anymore. I keep thinking I'm like 5.
Yes.
But anyway, if you'd like to see more interviews and reunions, please I can't talk. Please feel free to subscribe to my channel. Share our conversation. Feel free to reach out to us. Again, we're all on social media. My website's tammytuckey.com. Thank you all again. Ladies, happy International Women's Day. What a great way to end the day is with both of you. Thank you.
Thank
so
you,
much.
Tammy.
Thank you, Tammy. This was delightful.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
A joy. And thanks again to everybody who's watching. See you all real soon. And remember, you will know who you really are. Just take a listen to that song and you'll find out. Thank you guys so much. Bye.
Thanks, honey. Bye.